Well, hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. I'm Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. For the first time in nearly 150 years, a cabinet member faces an impeachment trial. That's after a largely party-line vote in the House late Monday, including yeses from all three of Nebraska's representatives. Amy Kiley has more on what comes next.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas faces a trial in the Senate. That's after the House impeached him by a single vote yesterday. Republicans accused Mayorkas of violating immigration laws.
The Senate really ought to take seriously the message that was sent is that we're serious about securing the border, and the Secretary's failed to do his job.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is signaling the impeachment trial will be brief. Democrats control the chamber and are likely to acquit Mayorkas. Many legal experts say the evidence doesn't reach the high bar for impeachment. One of three House Republicans who voted against impeaching Mayorkas says he agrees.
I prosecuted for 25 years. I know what a high crime and misdemeanor are, and I know that this doesn't qualify. This is a policy difference.
Representative Ken Buck also argues impeachment should be bipartisan to maintain public trust in Congress.
We need to take the temperature down.
Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says instead of voting on Mayorkas, Congress should be voting on border legislation. Republicans say they'd like that if Democrats met all their demands. Jeffries argues a Senate bill that meets some of them is better than nothing.
It's urgently necessary that we act in America's national security to bring this bipartisan bill to the floor.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Closer to home, two bills being considered by Nebraska lawmakers mirror those seen across the country targeting diversity initiatives and college professors. The bills before the legislature's Education Committee include one that would ban diversity, equity, and inclusion at state colleges and universities. Another would eliminate tenure for college professors. Similar bills have been introduced in Republican-led legislatures across the country that have increasingly come to view higher education institutions as bastions of liberal ideology. But scores of people turned out to testify on the bills, which faced more public opposition than support.
Forgive the quip, but who wrote this bill, ChatGPT? I've seen better drafts from that program.
Because I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make change. I don't think that any boomer should be making any laws that affect my children because you are so far disconnected from the world that we are currently occupying, you don't have room to speak. So you need to sit down and let those of us that live this life and have to put up the next generation in this life, you need to sit back, sit down, and sit silent while we handle bringing in a new world that brings in diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that is the only way forward.
Meanwhile, a bill that would increase taxes on those so-called skill games you see at convenience stores and bars advanced from the first round of debate this week. Senator John Lowe of Kearney introduced the bill, saying he's hoping to use the proceeds of the rapidly increasing games for property tax relief. The skill games look like video slot machines but aren't considered games of chance, so they're regulated differently. The bill sets a 5% tax on the games, which would be split between the state, the hosting county and city, and for tourism promotion. In central Nebraska, county commissioners coming together and urging state-level action after a sewage leak at the JBS plant earlier this year. Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia has more.
Commissioners in Hope County are taking matters into their hands regarding wastewater concerns with a meatpacking plant. At Tuesday's county board meeting, commissioners voted unanimously to form a committee to work with JBS and the wastewater treatment plant to come up with a solution to protect public health. Commissioner Jane Richardson is spearheading the project after receiving calls and emails from constituents.
We have a lot of issues to be addressed, even if it's not in our wells, even if it doesn't affect the lakes. All these non-compliance issues, something needs to be done. This cannot just continue as a way of business. The fines need to be increased. That might help. I just don't think it's a right way to conduct a business to be out of compliance that often.
Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy officials attended the last meeting and presented about an incident at JBS in which 2 million gallons of wastewater was discharged into the Wood River, and Commissioner says it's far from the first issue at the plant. According to Richardson, Senator Ray Aguilar of Grand Island met with the Attorney General about the issue on Tuesday.
And I said the fines, they don't, it's like the punishment doesn't meet the crime. It's way out of whack, and hopefully the Attorney General can do something about that, because I think that would help.
The board also approved a letter to be sent to JBS urging them to become more accountable in policies and practices concerning air and water environmental issues. JBS will present a remediation plan to the Department of Environment and Energy on Thursday. The company is also charged with providing documentation of additional water quality monitoring in the Wood River. In Grand Island, Ana Ruth Lugo Mejia, News Channel, Nebraska.
A project some 2 years in the making reached a major milestone on Tuesday. Madison County Commissioners awarded the contract for a project that will pave the roads leading to the future soybean crush facility in Norfolk. This includes work on existing roads like the Northeast Industrial Highway and Newcore Road. The price tag, almost $2.7 million, expected to be done by August. Now, that timeline doesn't necessarily work for Norfolk Crush, though, who've said they hope to have the soybean processing facility operational in time for harvest this year. Contractors say that will probably depend on weather. The $335 million Norfolk Crush project has been under construction since getting approval from the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy in late 2022. Some cities in southeast Nebraska celebrated a major milestone in recovering from the 2019 flooding of the Missouri River with a new source of drinking water for the village of Peru. Dan Swanson has more.
The scene was different for Peru residents Tuesday on the topic of flooding. Instead of sandbagging and drinking water arriving on trucks, residents were cutting a ribbon for a new 11-mile water line from Auburn to its neighbor along the Missouri River. Peru Mayor Dave Peace said the ribbon cutting was a long time in coming as he looked back on March of 2019 when the river surged over sandbags around the city's well.
Initially, we were concerned about people's safety because we had a flooded area of town. OPPD had to come down and shut off the power there. And then we're sitting there thinking, what are we going to do for water now? President Hansen was there, and he right away decided to shut down the college to try to send the students home. And we had all, I think there were 7 people that we had to contact that lived in the flooded area.
Over 900,000 gallons of water was trucked from a fire hydrant in Auburn to Peru, with trucks running as much as 14 hours a day before the city of Peru reached out to Auburn about a permanent solution. FEMA provided $5.2 million grant, and the state provided additional funds and a zero-interest loan to Peru for its $384,000 share for the new water line. Chuck Knipe of the Auburn Board of Public Works said the rural communities showed resilience to natural disaster.
And you learn that you have to work together if you live in a small community. Our resources aren't what they are in the major metropolitan areas, but we can get by. We have a great lifestyle in these communities. We can get by if we share these resources.
A booster station in Auburn provides the 400-foot lift needed to go under the Little Nimha River and rise to the Peru water tower. The water line can deliver Peru's normal daily demand of 100 gallons per minute, but could provide up to 250 gallons per minute in case of a fire or other emergency. Mayor Peace says the flood recovery continues in Peru.
We have a lot of other cleanup issues to do. We're nearly done, but we have a few roads that were in the flood zone that we couldn't get to because we had built the berms up for the old treatment plant, and our well still has a berm built around it. Those will all have to be removed. And then another thing that's kind of unrelated to these issues was the hazard mitigation buyout plan, and that is almost ready to call done. And so we're going to make offers to all the residents whose houses were destroyed.
From Auburn, I'm Dan Swanson, News Channel, Nebraska.
Sheriff's officials in the capital city are sharing dramatic video of a dog being rescued after falling through an icy pond. The rescue happened earlier this month just outside of Lincoln. You can see it in this video shared by the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office to TikTok. Sheriff's officials say they were called to help a woman who'd fallen through the ice trying to retrieve her dog. The woman got out of the icy waters, but the dog could not. Deputy John Brady brought a kayak out to the dog, falling through the ice himself before he was able to bring himself and the dog safely to shore. The sheriff's office says the dog, named Bear, was safely returned to his owners. A Northeast Nebraska school administrator taking a new position within the school district. Wayne Elementary Principal Russ Plager will now be the district's high school principal next school year. That move approved by the Wayne Board of Education this week. He takes over for Tucker Height, who's leaving after 5 years on the job and 13 overall within the district. Plager's been the Wayne Elementary principal for 9 years. He also coached the Blue Devils football squad for 5 seasons, leading Wayne to the Class C1 semifinals in 2019. Well, a North Platte man will be riding in style after becoming the 7th winner in the latest round of a popular scratch-off game. According to the Nebraska Lottery, Lucas Swarthout purchased a winning Trucks and Bucks ticket at the Quick Stop on South Jeffers Street in North Platte. He was presented his new truck at that very Quick Stop earlier this week. He gets a 2023 Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew Flex Fuel. That's a mouthful. It's also worth $81,000. The odds of winning the top prize in Trucks and Bucks, 1 in 336,000. Valentine's Day has arrived. Flower shops all over the state have spent the week preparing for the rush. Andrew Pfeiffer has more.
With Valentine's Day finally arriving, flower shops all over Nebraska are looking about as busy as the trade floor in New York City.
It's our Black Friday. It's our busiest day of the year. We have tons of pre-orders. We'll get tons of orders the day of. We'll have people coming in at 5 o'clock tomorrow night asking if we have flowers left over.
Floral Expressions has prepared for the holiday and even the day after.
You always get those last minute people who are like, oh my gosh, I forgot that it was Valentine's Day. We'll even get orders on the 15th for people that forgot it was Valentine's Day.
Messenger says the flower that everyone loves the most is roses.
You know, everybody thinks that they mean love, so they want to go with the meaning behind that. So,
with that meaning comes a high wave of demand.
We order in probably anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 stems of roses every Valentine's Day, separated out between, red and the other colors. And by the end of the week, they will be gone.
Even though Valentine's Day is one of the largest rushes of the year for many flower shops, Messenger says out of the 364 other days, they are just about as busy.
We have a pretty steady stream of business, with big events, babies being born, weddings, funerals, but Valentine's Day definitely has a big bump in business for us.
Reporting in Norfolk, Andrew Pfeiffer, News Channel, Nebraska.
Turning to sports, after a 2-game losing streak, 17th-ranked Creighton reversed the trend. The Blue Jays have won 2 in a row after a decisive home win against Georgetown on Tuesday. The Blue Jays built a 19-point halftime edge and cruised to their 18th win of the season behind a triple-double from Baylor Shireman, the first for the Blue Jays since 1985. The woes, meanwhile, continue for Ed Cooley's Hoyas. They dropped to 8-16. On the season. And a legendary volleyball coach who just resigned at Kearney Catholic is not done coaching. She'll instead be the next coach at Riverside. Chris Connor returning to her home area to coach the Chargers. She's originally from Primrose, which is part of the Riverside School District with Spalding and Cedar Rapids. Connor says the right opportunity came up to take a tech job with the school district and coach the volleyball team.
And it just pulled at my heartstrings too much, and so I am going to try to help, those athletes at Riverside and see what we can do.
Connor spent 32 years at Kearney Catholic, winning 4 state titles and guiding 3 teams to a runner-up finish. She's compiled a career record of 753 and 241, good for the second most wins among active Nebraska high school volleyball coaches. As for Riverside, they were 12 and 14 last season. The Chargers have never qualified for the state tournament. You can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com. Click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X. Like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. We've got much more on the way. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.